assume are good people. That was one of the first comments out of Donald Trump as he announced his candidacy last year, that many thought, well, he may not go anywhere after that. But as it turned out now, he is the GOP leader in this, with more than half the delegates needed to win the party's nomination at the convention this summer in Cleveland. Live aerials now from Sky 12 as we're taking a look at protesters and a growing crowd out here on eastbound Shea Boulevard. It is completely stopped this morning. We're taking a look at ground shots. This is Jacob Rascone from NBC. He just tweeted out a deputy calls for a tow truck now towing protester vehicles blocking road to Trump event. Protesters keep chanting. We know they are down there with signs that say dump Trump, shut Trump down, quarantine, stop the Trump effect. That tow truck has since taken off. It had one pickup truck on the flatbed. It was towing another one. However, there's still another pickup truck in the road, and the protesters are right here gathered on the ground. We're trying to talk to Jacob Rascone on the phone. We'll get him very quickly for you. He is stuck in this. He's an NBC reporter trying to get out to cover the event like so many other people. Other people just out on their Saturday morning now, just shut down on eastbound Shea. Usually this road not very busy this time of day. The backup, it is more than a mile. It is growing toward Frank Lloyd Wright, as the protesters look like they have no intentions of leaving on their own. MCSO deputies out there trying to clear off this situation. This has been going on for about a half an hour now. You're watching continuous coverage of breaking news here on 12 News. Donald Trump, anti-Trump protesters shutting down eastbound Shea at Palisades near the Mayo Clinic. Bram Resnick is live. He is at the Fountain Hills Park where that rally is set to start in about an hour. And Bram, you're saying from the way it looks with the Secret Service and with MCSO and the help of Sheriff Joe Arpaio, this may not delay the rally all that much, if at any.
No, however, I will tell you, my understanding is the Secret Service was not thrilled by this site. It is a wide open park. I would guess 20, 30, maybe even 40 acres. There's a lake behind us. Homes, apartments, businesses all surrounding this. It is not the ideal site for a Secret Service, for a presidential candidate like Donald Trump, who's been getting as much heat as Donald Trump's been getting at his rally. So still a lot of concern here about security, as well as what's going on just about 4 or 5 miles away down the road. Matt?
Service likes a very confined area. They want complete control of everything. They want to know who is going in, and they want to be able to keep an eye on everyone. And when you're out at a public park like this that is very big, even if there is that, say, 100-foot buffer zone, it's still hard to keep an eye on everything, Bram.
That's right. They're doing they're very well trained. They're the best at this. I will tell you, it's very slow going. I'm looking at the lines over here. People coming in, very slow going. Folks coming in, even though if Jeff can just pan off me, you can see this area space behind me is filling in pretty fast. You do see a lot of MCSO deputies out here. I believe the posse is out here as well. I saw the horse-mounted deputies or posse just a little bit ago. So they're out here in full force. I think the only thing we haven't seen today, maybe it's out there, is the sheriff's tank. He loves to trot that out at big public events. Although I think I see one of his big SWAT vehicles off to the left here, just over the berm on Saguaro Road. So there is a lot of security out here, needless to say. Matt?
Without a doubt, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, never one to turn away from any publicity or attention, in this case with his friend and the gentleman he is supporting for President Donald Trump. We'll take you back live now to Sky 12 aerials, where anti-Trump protesters are shutting down eastbound Shea Boulevard near the Mayo Clinic at Palisades. We do know 2 pickup trucks were blocking this area. They have been removed, but 2 more have simply gone and taken their place. Looks like the first 2 trucks behind them after they got towed were from the protesters as well. MCSO deputies have swarmed this area trying to get it cleared up. They've removed 2 pickup trucks, yet they have at least 2, maybe 3 more to go before they can get this area back open. Then they have to deal with the dozens of protesters who are on the street this morning forming a human barricade. They're holding their signs just on what would be the west side of those pickup trucks. Their signs say shut down Trump, dump Trump, and quarantine, stop the Trump effect. We're making calls and working to figure out if these protesters are with an organized group or if this is something they have just gotten together and done on their own. We do know that groups include including Puente, Arizona, had talked about protesting the Trump rally, yet they had said that they were going to do it peacefully and to not cause a commotion or a scene like this. Again, if they had changed their mind, that is yet to be seen this morning. But Sky 12 over breaking news of eastbound Shea shut down at Palisades as anti-Trump protesters are blocking a 3-lane road. It's a major road to get to that area. This morning, Donald Trump, as we speak, is wrapping up a town hall in downtown Phoenix at the convention center. There were protesters outside of there, mostly some of the immigration protesters who do not like what Donald Trump has to say about immigration, particularly his idea of building a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border and making Mexico pay for that. A lot of their messages were in both Spanish and in English this morning. We don't know if their plans were to head out to Fountain Hills to protest the Donald Trump rally that is at 11 o'clock, set for 11 o'clock as well. Our Nico Santos is live. He is outside of the secure area where that rally will take place. Bram Resnick was inside. Nico Santos is outside. Nico, I know you've been in touch with Puente many times in the past. Have you heard anything about these protesters, or has word that Shea shut down, has that reached out to the Donald Trump supporters there?
No, news of that hasn't reached out this far, at least based on the number of people we've talked to out here. Right now, the main concern for their Donald Trump supporters is when he's going to get here. They're ready to hear him speak, and what is that, in less than an hour, they're expecting him. And as we understand it, the town hall meeting he has downtown is starting to wrap up right now, so he may actually make it on time, assuming he's not driving through Shea Boulevard because of that protest blocking the streets right now. What I do have, however, is someone who texted me, a viewer, saying that she's stuck in traffic. She said that it seems like she's been in traffic for hours, and saying that there are a lot of people out there very angry. Drivers are getting out of their cars shouting at people right now. So it should be interesting to see how that pans out, especially considering that protest at least was planning to march closer to this event, not necessarily at the Donald Trump rally, but they were planning to get a lot closer. So we're definitely going to keep our eyes on that. For now, we can take a look at the crowd that's in the venue right now. The line that we've been seeing moving for hours right now, still trickling in as we go along, but ironically at the same time it is still longer on the outside than it was before. So people are just trickling in as we speak. If we can take a look at the line right here behind us, as you see people walking in, they're checking tickets, going through a security checkpoint. But this line actually goes all the way around the park, and it's easily thousands more waiting to get in line. It's kind of like a half circle of people just walking slowly as they turn around and get ready to come and see Donald Trump. That, once again, that is in less than 1 hour. And a ton of supporters out here really excited to see Donald Trump speak, and we're just waiting to see when he shows up.
All right, thank you, Nico. Those are the supporters, thousands of them, who got there before the sun came up. Now we'll take live aerials once again of the big traffic tie-up. Anti-Trump protesters still blocking eastbound Shea near the Mayo Clinic at Palisades. 2 of their pickup trucks have been towed by a flatbed truck that MCSO has ordered out there. We do not see another tow truck yet. It looks like they have at least 2 or 3 more pickup trucks blocking the road. Plus, they have a wall of people. They are holding those signs right there as Sky 12 zooms in. One says, "Dump Trump." Another says, "Quarantine, stop the Trump effect, shut down Trump." And a couple have messages written in Spanish. These protesters now blocking Shea Boulevard eastbound as you head out to Fountain Hills from North Scottsdale for at least the last 45 to 50 minutes or so. As Nico said, he got a message or a Twitter message from someone. A lot of people who maybe want nothing to do with the rally just stopped and stuck in traffic. Sky 12 showed us a few minutes ago hundreds of people stuck in this traffic jam. One of them includes NBC's Jacob Brascone, and 12 News security expert Paul Penzone is joining me now. Paul, thanks for joining me. Not Paul, we apologize. Nico? Jacob, I apologize. Jacob Brascone, NBC reporter. Jacob, I saw a picture. Are you stuck in this traffic jam?
I mean, I'm here by choice because I saw the car stop. But I've talked to the protesters, and they've been planning this for days. When they heard about the rally near their home, they organized, they put out a Facebook posting, thousands of people said they would show up. And part of the plan was to arrive a couple of hours early on the main road leading to the Trump event and to, with 6 or 7 cars, block traffic and pull out their signs and start to chant. And they've been doing that now for 45 minutes or so, if I had to guess. And as you've probably seen from the aerial footage, a couple of the trucks have been taken away. The protesters say that was part of the plan. They have 3 layers of cars and they were planning on the deputies showing up with a tow truck to tow the trucks away. So they've taken 2, and it's going to be a while for them to be able to take the rest of them. And in fact, just in the last 10 minutes or so, I watched a couple of drivers in one of the rows of cars of protesters bolt themselves with cables to their car doors so that the cars, of course, can't be towed away. And the drivers, of course, say, I don't know where the key is. So unless the deputies show up with cable cutters and get them out that way and tow the car, even if in your car here, many of them trying to get to the Trump event, but many of them just trying to get home or trying to get somewhere else. And they're stuck. I mean, as far as I can see, the cars are just stuck. If I had to count, I'd say a few hundred, but it goes on farther than I can see.
All right, NBC News correspondent Jacob Resco, and he is live on the ground in the middle of this traffic stop. Jacob, please stay on the phone. You're looking at live aerials right now of the protesters you just talked about. It looks like they have 3 trucks and maybe a van blocking eastbound Shea. Jacob, I'm curious, how many of the people who are outside right now that we see on these live aerials, how many are actual protesters versus sheriff's deputies versus people who got caught up in this who are now out of their cars and very frustrated with this situation?
Most people who've gotten out of their cars who weren't part of the protest have gotten back in their cars. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say maybe a dozen people here who are outside of their cars are not part of the protest, and everybody else is part of the protest. And, their message is clear. They're very upset about Trump's talk on immigration. The group that is leading the protest here, Puente Human Rights Organization, they work with the local undocumented immigrant community, and they're offended by Donald Trump's rhetoric on the issue. And they have made what they want to do clear. I talked to the leader of the organization here, and he said, we want to stop the rally. And we hope that we can do that in part by blocking one of the main roads to the event. And I said, well, what if you get arrested? And he said, that's a risk I'm willing to take. We've planned this out. We thought this out. And we're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that Donald Trump's rally doesn't go on, or that some of the people who wanted to go don't get there. And they're holding their ground.
And Jacob, you mentioned this a few minutes ago, but you say some of these protesters have even chained themselves to their vehicles to make it even more difficult for MCSO deputies and any law enforcement to kind of clear up this situation.
Right. There are 3 layers of cars that belong to the protesters, and on the last layer, closest to the cars that are trapped, a couple of the drivers have taken big cables and wrapped them around their bodies and to their car doors so that the tow truck won't take their car. And they claim that they don't know where the key is. So they're in it for the long haul. They've thought this out, and they're just wanting to delay as long as they can.
And have you talked to any of the MCSO deputies out there about what they plan to do to clear this up, or any time frame on when they could get these other cars and trucks towed and get some of these people off the road? Not only is it an anti-Trump event, but this is also, it's a 3-lane road, eastbound Shea Boulevard at Palisades. It's a busy road and a main road out in that part of town as you go from North Scottsdale to Fountain Hills.
Right. The first deputy showed up a little over a half hour ago, and he told the protesters to leave. They didn't listen. And they sort of appointed a spokesperson who talked to the deputy, and the deputy said, look, you got to get out of the road, and the protester pretended to not know how it was done or who's in charge. The deputy called for backup, and backup arrived 15 minutes later or so, including a tow truck, and that's the plan right now, that they're at least willing to say that they are going to show up with a tow truck and then another tow truck and simply remove the cars and then allow everybody who has been trapped to move forward. Since that first deputy arrived, we now have maybe 10 law enforcement officers, deputies, and officers, and then we have, I can see in the distance, several police cars that are lined up along the median, I think just to make sure that people don't get out of their cars and go into oncoming traffic. But no plan that I have heard of other than to remove the cars, and we'll go that way.
And Jacob, you talked about that the sheriff's deputies, they can forcefully remove the cars and trucks with flatbeds. Have they talked about how they might remove the protesters from this area? They could theoretically very easily get their trucks out of there once they get the flatbeds, but how are they going to get the people to move?
You know, I would suspect at some point they would resort to arresting the protesters, but we haven't seen any signs that they're ready to do that. And I guess we're sort of waiting to see if that eventually happens.
You've covered Donald Trump rallies and campaign events all across the country. We saw last Friday, a week ago Friday, the 11th in Chicago, violence and protesters shut down the rally. Have you ever seen something like this where the protesters have formed a car and truck and human barricade on a 3-lane road to not only stop the event but stop people from getting there and also just stop daily life for the people in the cities where these rallies are happening?
I haven't like this. This was very thought out and planned out with the 3 layers of cars, planning to get their trucks towed and then locking themselves to several rallies. Protesters who have shut down main roads around the Trump event, and police have simply at that point just blocked them off and and diverted traffic around. But this is a little different because this road is still a couple of miles away and a main road, and there's really no way for the cars that are trapped to get out of the circumstances they're in.
No doubt about that. That's why that traffic now being backed up for a couple of miles going west as you go toward North Scottsdale and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. Jacob Rascone, NBC correspondent, is on the ground in the middle of this traffic stop with the anti-Trump protesters. And Jacob, a few minutes ago, you mentioned that at some point there was a little bit of pushing and shoving between the anti-Trump protesters and, frankly, some of the people who are frustrated and want to get on their way. Has that all subsided? This, as we just saw some of your tweets and your videos, we're looking at live aerials from Sky 12 now showing the massive backup, and it looked like they're going from where the traffic stop was trying to fly back over to Fountain Hills. But again, the question, one thing I'm concerned about and asking about, the pushing and the shoving, has that subsided?
Yes, I haven't seen any of that for 15 minutes or so. Maybe because more deputies showed up. When people started shouting and there was a little bit of pushing and shoving, initially there were no deputies around. One had showed up, but he was at the front of the protest and the shouting was going on further away. Now that there are, several, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 even police vehicles and then 10 or so officers and deputies, I suspect that may be why there isn't any more shoving.
NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone, our man on the ground in the middle of the traffic stop. As you're seeing it right here, dozens of protesters have stopped eastbound Shea as they head toward the Fountain Hills rally. And now it looks like there is another traffic stop, this from Sky 12, this not on Shea, but in a completely different area. Jacob, thank you very much for your time this morning. I hope to talk with you again to get the latest on the ground there. I now want to go to Joaquin Enriquez with MCSO. Actually, before we go to the sheriff's deputy, we want to go to Bram Resnick live at Fountain Hills Park. And Bram, I'm not sure if you're seeing this, but it looks like there has now been another traffic stop set up by what NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone says is the group Puente, Arizona.
That would be very interesting. I'd really like to know where that is, because if that's the case, they could be blocking the entrance to Saguaro Road. We've just been looking at a map here. Can't say I know Fountain Hills like the back of my hand, but it is possible, and this would be very strategic on their part, to block eastbound and block a westbound route into this area. Of course, Sheriff Joe Arpaio has helicopters. That would work too. And initially, we thought he might do that here with Donald Trump, chopper him in. There's a place to land in that security buffer we described to you earlier. Maybe, Jeff, if you can, photographer Jeff Blackburn, just turn over to the security buffer. Again, that's about, I don't know, 30, 50 yards wide, keeping folks away. You could land a chopper in there if they needed to. If they needed to get Donald Trump in and there's no way in. So if indeed they're blocking both sides of Shea, that could be a problem. Also want to point out that Puente, again, an immigrant rights group, they're the same group that took Bernie Sanders' wife, Jane Sanders, to Tent City earlier in the week. I think it was on Monday. They took Jane Sanders to Tent City. That turned into an event that kind of went sideways for the Sanders campaign when Sheriff Joe Arpaio came out of his office came out of another news conference, I should say, to meet Jane Sanders at Tent City. She wasn't planning to meet him. She was planning to get a tour of the exterior of Tent City, and the sheriff, being as fond of cameras as he is, he wandered out in front of our cameras and offered to give her a tour. Jane Sanders, Bernie Sanders' wife, basically had an offer she couldn't refuse. So she went along with him and handled herself very well. Joe Arpaio can be very cordial. They may disagree violently on the issues, especially immigration, but Joe Arpaio can be very cordial in person, does not pick fights, and they had a very nice conversation. He showed her around. The Sanders campaign did get a backlash from other Democrats for actually meeting with Joe Arpaio. Again, Puente had set that up. They had no intention of meeting Arpaio. Sorry, the scream in the crowd there distracted me. We are on alert for any kind of disturbances out here today. But Sheriff Arpaio, very cordial. Sanders campaign took some blowback. I have to turn around and see what's going on here.
222. Okay, Bram Resnick, our 12 News political insider.
Heart attack, heart attack, heart attack.
Heart
attack, heart attack, heart attack.
Someone at that rally is having a heart attack. This inside the secured area at Fountain Hills Park. Bram Resnick going to figure out much more about that. If that's the case, certainly hope that person is okay. It is very warm out there, 74 degrees. The sun is shining. Meanwhile, just a few miles away, it sounds as though the immigrant rights group, Puente, Arizona, has set up possibly a second roadblock now. This one, we're working to figure out exactly where it is. It's hard to see from the aerials, but they have one eastbound Shea at Palisades, now another one in this area. We're trying to figure out where this is. Let's go back to Bram Resnick. Bram, sounds like someone's having a heart attack out there.
We're on a man. You can see a man in a white, you can see the man in a white baseball cap, yellow shirt. He's being escorted out by two security officers. What happened while I was on there a minute ago, the audience, you heard they were making disturbance. They were shouting at us on the risers here, on the TV risers, heart attack, heart attack. It looks like the man is okay. He's being led out very gingerly by security. Crowd quite happy. This all got quick action. It certainly did. I'd say a few seconds after they started yelling at us, security dashed over to take care of that gentleman. Again, he appears to be okay. Gray-haired man, likely in his 60s or 70s, being helped out by security. Must have been a warning of an oncoming heart attack. He was right in the center of that crowd, almost dead center in that crowd. That's a scary, scary feeling.
her experience now, and she says that protesters are on the street and they're not letting any cars go. She's stuck there by herself. She said that the protesters are arguing with some of the drivers who are getting out of their car and asking them basically to get out of the way. Chances are a majority of those people coming up either on Shea, for example, which is just what is this, north of Saguaro, excuse me. That's where a lot of people are coming in to come to this protest. So it's quite an issue. We understand also that those protesters are slowly moving, so if they get closer to the event, we'll be keeping our eye on that for sure. But as we take another look at the crowd here, all the Trump supporters looking for Trump and truth here, out to support their candidate, waiting hopefully less than an hour until Trump takes the stage. And in the meantime, everybody's just enjoying their time and keeping hydrated. Matt?
Okay, Nico Santos live at Fountain Hills Park outside of the secured area where some few thousand people are up on the lawn there waiting to see Donald Trump speak. Donald Trump, we believe maybe just a few minutes ago, left the downtown area where he was having a town hall meeting. On the way there, though, to major issues. It looks like protesters have set up 2 roadblocks. We'll talk about that as we're looking live at the Fountain Hills area right now. Our Bram Resnick, 12 News Insider, is there. Someone taking the stage. Bram, if you can hear me, any idea who's on stage there? The shot's kind of wide. It's hard to tell.
As we come before thee on this beautiful, beautiful day for this wonderful event that we're having.
There's a prayer invocation right now by former State Representative Karen Johnson. She's giving the invocation at the Trump rally. We're just gonna listen.
And Father,
okay, thank you.
I don't know if you can pick that up.
all of the security.
Right, we can hear a little bit what Bram said is former State Representative Karen Johnson giving an invocation inside of the secured area to a few thousand Trump supporters right now. Meanwhile, what you cannot see and what has really become the big story this morning as we stay on this shot is that anti-Trump protesters have blocked 2 major roads on the way to this. This is going to be eastbound Shea at Palisades, and another one where we're working to get the exact location. Again, this is former State Representative Karen Johnson giving the invocation at Fountain Hills Park as this rally with Donald Trump is set to begin about a half hour from now. We hear that Sheriff Joe Arpaio may speak, as well as former Governor Jan Brewer. This is Sheriff Arpaio's area. There are a lot of Donald Trump supporters here. There were lines that stretched for blocks away this morning with thousands of people who waited to get in there. Looks like the invocation and the prayer has been set up. In the background, you see MCSO sheriff's deputies.
Please welcome Mayor of Fountain Hills, Linda Kavanaugh.
And right now you're seeing the mayor of Fountain Hills, Linda Kavanaugh. She is the wife of John Kavanaugh, state senator, I believe. There she is up there. Again, big Trump supporters in an area that is home to a lot of them. She is up there. We can take a listen into her. And in the meantime, as we look at this, we do want to talk with 12 News security experts, Paul Penzone. Paul, thank you for joining me this morning. What we can't see right now, but we saw earlier, 2 major traffic breaks set up by protesters. We'll look at video from just a few minutes ago of one of them. This is when the pickup trucks were blocking the road. They have since left. Paul, the big question as a former Phoenix police officer, how do you clear this up?
Well, it's going to have to be very methodical. It depends on what space they control and what space they lost control of. So what you want to make sure is that there are access routes. You don't want to lock people down to where they're confined. You have to have some, almost like ventilation. You have to have space where you've organized a route for them out there, much like when you're leaving a major sporting event. You know, traffic can get congested if law enforcement hasn't done a good job of setting up their ingress and their egress. So the biggest challenge is going to be how do you move a lot of people knowing that you have some opposing forces. You have, people that some are there to support the candidate, others are there to express opposition to the candidate's position. Therefore, you have a natural conflict, and you have to be very cautious with that.
Okay, what we're looking at are aerials from 12 News, maybe about 15, 20 minutes ago, of these protesters blocking eastbound Shea at Palisades, Paul. It's near the Mayo Clinic. The protesters, we were told, have basically 3 lines of defense here. They have a couple sets of cars and trucks. We know 2 pickup trucks were forcefully towed away from there, but they were just as easily replaced. And we heard from NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone that some of these anti-Trump protesters have chained themselves to their vehicles. And Paul, I imagine that just makes this situation that much more difficult for the sheriff's deputies to clear up in what we hope is a peaceful manner.
Yeah, what you're going to see then is another situation where it's not just about allowing people the freedom of speech and access to spaces that they should have. It's a matter of how do you move people safely out of the area while still dealing with things that are going to be a violation of law, that in some ways they may rise to the level of, whether it be a citation, whether it be arresting somebody, but you have to weigh that against safety. How many resources do you have available that if you tie them up with, let's just say, some interactions where the violation itself is one where you want to use discretion. You want to ask yourself, do we really want to type a resource in arresting this person, or do we move the masses first and then address the issues after the fact that don't pose a direct threat to safety? And I think one of the challenges is, the inherent tie. The sheriff has been vocally supportive of the candidate, Mr. Trump. So some of the opposition is going to feel as though that agency that represents the sheriff may have those same views. Now, they could be out there and just be completely objective and handling themselves, highly professional, but that inherent kind of challenger dynamic may create a problem. So I'm not sure what other resources they call upon, but it might not have been a bad idea to have maybe the support of some other agencies so you have more neutrality, so that the perception of the interactions is, it's based off of law enforcement in and of itself, not so much an organization that's representing, their sheriff, who is a supporter of Mr. Trump.
No doubt, you have a very tense situation. You have a lot of people there, and then you get politics that play into this as well. 12 News security expert Paul Penzone joining me on the phone right now. Paul, what we're seeing on TV is some pictures of the protesters out eastbound Shea at Palisades, where they have stopped traffic. 2 pickup trucks have been towed from there. However, there are more trucks in the area, and there are dozens of protesters all blocking traffic. MCSO deputies are out there. They have told them, they have asked them to go ahead and leave. They forcefully removed 2 of the pickup trucks. Paul, at what point do they stop asking and even telling these protesters to leave, and do they simply start arresting them to clear up a 3-lane road?
And again, that's going to be a judgment call dependent on how the actions will affect overall safety. So what we know is this: you have a very fluid protest, meaning that it's not as though it's contained to one space. It's not like let's say there's a company and people are picketing or protesting a particular company, so they stay in a geographical area. Here you have a lot of issues. You have the event itself, you have traffic, you have people that are fluid. So law enforcement is trying to manage a lot of different dynamics. The one thing they know for sure is there is somewhat of a time limit on it. Once this event ends, time will pass, and those protesters will have no purpose, staying around any longer, because, the issue that they're opposing is now gone. So you want to show patience, but not to the point where it becomes detrimental and things can naturally escalate. So keeping separation between the 2 parties, however you can get those that are supporters of a candidate versus those that are there to oppose the candidate's views. How much space can you create between those 2 while you're trying to, as I said, almost kind of ventilate the space, create an access for people to leave. And then you have a third party, which is people who just live in the area or are caught in that space, not realizing that event was going on today, and they have nothing to do with either side. Yet they have now put themselves in a little bit of harm's way because of the natural hostility that's occurring.
No doubt about that. In fact, that line of cars now stopped on eastbound Shea, heading back toward Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. NBC News correspondent Jacob Rescone said at some point, and it's kind of what, Paul, you alluded to a second ago, some of those people just stuck in that, want nothing to do with this rally or anything that's going on, got out of their cars. They got into a little bit of a pushing match. And you talk about the tension there, that people just want that area cleared up. How many police officers and sheriff's deputies does it take to go ahead and work on a situation like this? We have Secret Service at the event, MCSO deputies at the event, and now it seems like they very well could be stretching some resources thin on this on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they had to call in for some additional resources. The number one issue is going to be traffic. So can you bring in, or do you have enough support to keep traffic flowing? Because as there's congestion, the tension for individuals grows in and of itself. So you want to make sure that traffic flow is number one. So, I couldn't put a number on it, but I would tell you that every road or every area where they're having challenges with vehicular movement, they're going to have people there to organize it. Secondarily, you're going to have kind of that line of representation, which is the enforcement side. These are the men and women in uniform who are there to keep the peace, to separate the parties, to make sure that if anybody is taking the opportunity to just do something violent or to act out in some way that really isn't even in support of what the issues are, just so much opportunity, do you have enough of a force there to address that? And it's not just when you take care of the issue itself. What happens is, as you're addressing it, you're going to have then support of those parties. In other words, you're trying to take somebody in custody. You need a secondary line that's behind you as an officer, or at least a few officers, to protect you from getting blindsided. So that if someone there wants to harm you because you're trying to take someone into custody, you have to have a layer of safety yourself. And then you're going to have kind of that tactical force, which is if there was something that escalated, some eruption that was even more violent, you have specialists who can then respond immediately, almost deal with it like it's, like a Trump situation, and ensure safety, remove people from that space, and make arrests if you need to.
Well, Paul Penzone, 12 News security expert and former Phoenix Police Sergeant. Paul, thank you for the insights. No doubt a very precarious situation. To get you caught up on the continuing coverage of breaking news this morning at 10:38, you're looking at aerials from Sky 12 taken just about a half hour or so ago as anti-Trump protesters have shut down what we now believe are two different streets in the Fountain Hills area. This a major one. 3 lanes eastbound Chayette Palisades near the Mayo Clinic. They have blocked this off. 2 of their trucks have been towed. However, they had more trucks and vans ready right behind it. We talked with NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone, who is on the ground in the middle of this. He says he talked with the group, Puente, Arizona, the leader there, telling him that this has been planned for days. They gathered it with a Facebook post. They planned to have 2 or more layers. They knew that their initial trucks and cars were going to get towed, but they had more ready to go. Jacob also telling us he sees some of these protesters bolting themselves to their cars with very thick cables. And there was some pushing and shoving going on earlier this morning as some of the people who are stuck in this, people who live in the area, maybe want nothing to do with the Donald Trump rally that is set to start in 20 minutes, now stuck in a traffic jam that has been going on for at least the last hour and 15 to 20 minutes. This backup on eastbound Shea going back toward North Scottsdale. The reason for all of this is Donald Trump set to have a rally in just 20 minutes now at Fountain Hills Park in Fountain Hills. That is where our 12 News political insider Bram Resnick has been all morning long. He is inside of the secured area. And Bram, have you heard any word on if these traffic issues and the protesters might delay the Donald Trump rally?
I'm interested to hear where that second blockade is, because it's possible they could. There aren't many ways into Fountain Hills, as we've been saying, so that is entirely possible. Just want to update you on a couple things. That gentleman who was escorted out is now sitting just maybe 40 feet away from me in a tent here, being cared for. So I don't know if we can get a shot of that with our photographer Jeff Blackburn. But he's upright. He's drinking water right now. He appears to be fine and waiting for some kind of assistance, but he is being cared for. Then there's the story, the crowd on the berm right now. The crowd reacting to Sheriff Joe Arpaio's helicopter overhead. I think I may have mentioned earlier, the thinking was the sheriff could fly Donald Trump in here. I wouldn't rule that out yet, to be honest, but the sheriff could fly Donald Trump into this park for his speech. Would not rule that out. And don't know if this is a beauty shot, the sheriff just waving the flag in front of the hometown crowd. We'll just have to see in about 20 or 30 minutes. Now I'm going to ask Jeff Blackburn to turn around once again and show the crowd on the berm, which I'm guessing is easily 2 times the size of the crowd inside the secure
live inside the Donald Trump rally. We now want to go on the phone to Rafael Carranza. He is a reporter for La Voz with breaking news of some arrests being made in this anti-Trump movement that is now blocking traffic in two areas, eastbound Shea at Palisades and now again confirmed at State Route 87 and Shea. Rafael, how many people have been arrested and what's the situation on the ground there?
And so far what we've noticed, there's only been one arrest, and this is from a woman who changed herself to her car. Now, the protesters here, there's about 100 of them, and so they blocked. What they did is they used their cars to block the Shea Boulevard leading into Fountain Hill. And so the deputy is called in a tow truck, and they've been towing each the cars one by one that are stopped along Shea Boulevard. And as they're doing that, some of the protesters have chained themselves to the cars. We have approximately 4 other individuals that are currently chained. And so far, only one of those individuals was extricated using a jaws of life, and then she was then detained. At this point, they are they're trying to extricate a second woman from her vehicle as well. And so they're just going one by one, as I mentioned. And it's a little chaotic. There is a lot of tension here from the people who are stuck in the blockade. They're coming up. Their emotions are running high. They're having exchanges with a lot of the protesters who are also obviously very passionate and feel very intensely about stopping this event from happening. Obviously, they're much farther away from where the actual event is, and so that they might not accomplish that. But they say that they plan on being here. And they plan on doing whatever it takes to continue blocking this road.
Rafael Carranza, reporter from La Voz on the ground. Rafael, what we're seeing right now is video on the ground of that protester being arrested. MCSO deputies handcuffing him, then literally lifting up his legs and carrying him off. That was one of the protesters who chained himself to one of the vehicles out there on eastbound Shea near the Palisades area. And Rafael, you say there are at least 4 more protesters literally chained to their cars. How many deputies are out there? And also, have they brought any more flatbed tow trucks to try to clear off these trucks that are blocking the street, that issue, beyond just the people there?
Well, just so you know right now, what's happening at this very moment, one of the women who was extricated, she is now being loaded into an ambulance. We can hear she was vomiting a bit, and so she's being helped by 2 of the paramedics into the ambulance, and so we're not exactly sure why she's feeling the way that she's feeling. But there are approximately about a dozen deputies, and there are all half a dozen police officers from the Scottsdale Police Department that are here, and so they're all sparse throughout the area. And anytime they see any sort of flare up or confrontation, they're quick to get in between the protesters and then the people who obviously feel very frustrated being stuck in traffic.
Rafael, so you're saying there may be about 15 to 20 police officers and sheriff's deputies on the ground out there eastbound Shea at by the Mayo Clinic at Palisades. Is that about right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and these protesters, it sounds like the information we'd got before, I'm not sure if you can shed any light on this, that they had planned this for a couple of days, and they had planned a second and a third line of defense against law enforcement that may try to clear up this traffic stop.
Yeah, they've been talking about ever since that the Trump campaign announced that they were going to be hosting a rally. They automatically said they were going to be protesting, and so they created a Facebook group that drew thousands of RSVPs. And so they actually held a meeting yesterday to discuss what course of action they would take, since they had more details about the actual event itself here in Fountain Hill. And so they met up at 6 o'clock this morning just to kind of prep and then do a prayer, and then they arrived here at about 8 o'clock. And so they split themselves off in different areas. And one of the groups here, the one that I'm at now on Shea Boulevard, was the first one to shut down this area, and then subsequently the second group that was located closer to the Beeline Highway, they did the same thing. But the one here on Shea Boulevard is the one that seems to be a bit more active, or at least drawing a little more activity from police as well as protesters.
Rafael Carranza, a reporter from La Voz on the ground eastbound Shea at Palisades, where anti-Trump protesters from Puente, Arizona have blocked the 3 lanes of that road. This has been going on for about an hour and a half this morning. Rafael, any idea when this might get cleared up? You say they had literally had to use the jaws of life to cut one of the protesters who had chained him or herself to one of those cars, and it looks like they have 4 more to go.
Yeah, and there's several cars that are just parked here that belong to protesters, and so at this point, what the protesters are doing is that they keep moving around. They keep surrounding the cars that could potentially be towed, and trying to use their bodies in a way as shields to kind of keep the cars in place and continue that blockade. So that's going to continue. And so what the deputies are saying is that they're just going to continue one by one until they can clear the roadway, and then allow the other drivers that are stuck here to move along. Now, one interesting thing that we noticed, and kind of a sign of the fact of all these tensions running high, earlier, about an hour ago or so, one of the drivers that was one of the frustrated drivers that was at the very front of the line, he just kind of plowed through protesters. He hit the accelerator and then just kind of made his way through the crowd. There was a lot of people that were, trying to stop him. There was a couple of people that jumped on his car to kind of get it to stop, because he was moving even as people were in the way. So eventually he made it through, and then the police kind of made a way for him to get through to kind of avoid any more injuries with the protesters. But that's just kind of an example of all the tensions that are running high here, and obviously a lot of the people that are waiting now, the tension continues building as time goes by, and many of them either getting home, work, or even to the rally, they're increasingly frustrated at the fact that they cannot do so.
Rafael Carranza, a reporter from La Voz, live on the scene, joining us on the phone as anti-Trump protesters are blocking eastbound Chayette Palisades near the Mayo Clinic. Rafael, please keep in touch. Appreciate all of your insight and information down there. In the meantime, we want to take you back to Fountain Hills Park. This where the Donald Trump rally supposed to begin in about 10 minutes. Our 12 News political insider, Bram Resnick, is there right now. And Bram, we now have not just one, but 2 blockades. We also know, we talked about this idea, you and I, just a few minutes ago, that it would not be surprising if Sheriff Arpaio flew Donald Trump into this rally to avoid these traffic blockades. The other one now we know is at State Route 87 and Shea. We're seeing live shots of a helicopter right here. Any word on when Donald Trump could get there and or how?
No, we don't. All eyes are on this chopper right now. It's been flying very low, making a big round pass around the grounds here, going past the fountain. And again, maybe it was a beauty shot, little for the hometown crowd here. But that's one way Donald Trump could get in here. 87 is a road you take off the 202 going north. It's the B line. I'm right on that. Isn't that the B line? I haven't been on the B line in a while. So you take the Beeline up toward the Fort McDowell Casino. That's one way to get in here, then make a left on Shea. So you go up the 87, make a left on Shea, go west. The protesters have already blockaded eastbound Shea. And so I think you can make a big loop. That could be a problem. That could be a problem. And if Donald Trump gets here, you can bet he's going to be talking about those people. He's got a new enemy today.
Yes, add fuel to a very
Matt, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Bram. Bram Res. Donald Trump rally in Fountain Hills. He referencing the fact that if and when Donald Trump makes it there, he's going to use these protests and the closing down of 2 3-lane roads to add fuel to what is already a raging fire. A live look at the lectern where Donald Trump is set to speak. This was supposed to start in just 7 minutes, but Puente, Arizona anti-Trump protesters have now blocked 2 major roads, eastbound Shea, the Mayo Clinic area at Palisades, also State Route 87 and Shea, 2 major ways to get to Fountain Hills Park this morning. We know Bear Thomas is a Donald Trump supporter who was stuck in one of those traffic jams, and I believe Bear joins me on the phone right now. Bear, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so tell me, where are you and what is going on?
Well, I'm at on Shea, eastbound at 136, and the police got this intersection
and some other incidents all across the country. Did you expect it in Fountain Hills today?
Well, I thought maybe it was out in Fountain Hills. It'd be too far out, but then Fountain Hills is limited by its access, and it was too easy to cut off.
Yeah, Bear Thomas, a Donald Trump supporter, now stuck in traffic in one of these Puente, Arizona anti-Trump blockades. He's on the Shea east at 136. And Bear, I just wondered, does this make you even more steadfast in your support for Donald Trump?
Yeah, obviously it does. And I'm here with about 3 other people, and what they're saying is that why do we get our First Amendment rights cut off by these people? What do they hope that they're going to achieve?
Our rights are nothing.
Bear Thomas, a Donald Trump supporter. Bear, go ahead. I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing you for a second there.
Okay.
He is stuck
right
in.
Now they're giving us tickets for blocking the road.
But we're not blocking it.
Well, we're not blocking the road because they've got to cut off behind us.
There's 2
So sheriff's deputies, law enforcement are saying you all are blocking the road. Am I hearing that right?
Yes. And Scottsdale Police Department is giving us tickets because we're waiting to get in line here, and we've only got the 3 lanes. There's clear on both sides. The local people can still get through, but we just want to go to the rally. That's all we want to do.
I can certainly understand that. So you've gotten a ticket this morning from Scottsdale Police.
No, right now behind us, there's about 3 to 4 dozen vehicles stopped here west of the 136th Street, and they started in the back, and they're starting to give tickets. But they've got the police have got this Shea cut off back at the last light. So we're not blocking traffic; they're blocking traffic. We just have to be sitting here waiting.
Right, and there's really no way. Is there any way for you to move to even get out of that area if you wanted to?
Well, we're at the intersection, and the police are trying to turn everybody around. But what they're doing is they're turning away Trump supporters, and that's what the Scottsdale police are doing.
Okay, Bear Thomas, a Donald Trump supporter, now stuck in traffic for at least the last hour. Shea eastbound at 136th Street. He's telling us that on the ground as we speak, Scottsdale police are going out there giving tickets to people who are in line as a way to deter them and get them to try to leave the area. Bear Thomas, thank you for joining me this morning. Certainly hope you get out of there safe and sound. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. All I want to do is get to the rally.
Okay, and that rally Bear Thomas is talking about supposed to start in just 3 minutes. This, the Donald Trump rally at Fountain Hills Park. You're looking at a video. This is from Jacob Rascone, a correspondent from NBC on the ground. This right after protesters from the group Puente, Arizona, anti-Donald Trump protesters started to block eastbound Shea at Palisades near the Mayo Clinic. This going on for getting very close to 2 hours now. We know MCSO Sheriff's Deputy Scottsdale Police are on the scene. They have forcibly removed 2 pickup trucks with a flatbed truck. There are at least, say, 6 or 7 more. We were hearing that protesters from Puente started organizing this days ago, and they had 2-3 lines of defense, basically 2 to 3 sets of cars and trucks that could help block the road, knowing that very well some of them will get towed. Also, what they are doing is protesters are chaining themselves to their vehicles. We heard from Rafael Carranza, a reporter from La Voz, that at least one person was cut away from his or her car with the jaws of life, then handcuffed, picked up, and carried out by sheriff's deputies. He also told us that that person got a little sick and had to get some help from paramedics, but that is at least of 15 minutes ago. There were 4 more people chained to their vehicles. So MCSO deputies, Scottsdale Police, and more trying to take care of a very precarious situation. There are dozens, possibly more than that, protesters on the scene, as well as now hundreds of people stuck in traffic. You're looking at now live aerials. This is the latest. I believe this is eastbound on Shea. It is that protest situation a few miles away from Fountain Hills Park, where that Donald Trump rally is set to start in a matter of a minute. What we have not heard this morning is how much this is going to delay that rally. There is no doubt that it will. Donald Trump was in downtown Phoenix earlier at the Phoenix Convention Center having a town hall meeting. He was then supposed to use his Secret Service motorcade to drive up to Fountain Hills. That rally is supposed to start at 11. Obviously, that is not going to happen. What you're seeing now, more vehicles from the anti-Trump protesters being drug onto flatbed trucks, this being a van. We know at least 2 of them have been removed so far. Also, people, again, chaining themselves to these. That's making a bad situation even worse. To how do you try to clear this up peacefully? And once you forcefully remove these vehicles, MCSO, Scottsdale Police, and any other law enforcement agencies in the area that are going there to help out, they have to deal with the people, what is now more than 100 of them. The anti-Trump protesters, again from Puente, Arizona, have not only blocked off this area, eastbound Shea at Palisades, but also State Route 87 at Shea. They have blocked that area off as well with cars and trucks and people. They have numerous signs down there. They have bullhorns. Their signs reading things such as "Dump Trump," "Quarantine," "Stop the Trump Effect," and "Shut Down Trump." This has been going on again for almost 2 hours this morning. The situation not nearing an end. And this, as we see protests at Donald Trump rallies all across the country. There were protesters outside downtown Phoenix. The first time Donald Trump came here, that was back on July 11th. He rallied at the convention center. And then again on December 16th, that is when he had a rally at the Mesa Gateway Airport with the Trump Force One being the background. Many of these protesters are upset with Trump and his views on immigration, particularly his comments about building a wall across the Mexican border and what Donald Trump said when he announced his candidacy last year. And he said, and I quote here, "When Mexico sends its people, they are not sending their best. They are sending people that have lots of problems. They are bringing these problems with them. They are bringing drugs. They are bringing crime. They are rapists, and some of them, I assume, are good people." Since then, many immigration activists have been vocal against Donald Trump here in the Valley and all across the country. It is 11:01. You're following continuing breaking news coverage this morning here on 12 News of anti-Trump protesters shutting down eastbound Shea. This just outside the Mayo Clinic at Palisades. Also Shea at State Route 87. Our 12 News political insider Bram Resnick is live at Is this Shea by Palisades and the Mayo Clinic? Is that what we're seeing here? Live aerials from 12 News. They at least have a couple of lanes cleared. They have forcibly towed a number of protesters, cars, trucks, and vans out of this area. This has been going now for 2 hours, and we are confirming this morning at 11:07 that the roads are finally back open after these protesters blocked them. We've had reporters on the ground there saying protesters have chained themselves to their cars, trucks, and their vans, and in some cases, MCSO deputies and paramedics had to use the jaws of life to go ahead and cut them out. We do know a number of people have been arrested, and we have video of some of those arrests. This on the ground as some of these anti-Trump Puente protesters were arrested. You're seeing this right now. Deputies getting the chains off of one of these protesters using handcuffs and grips there to go ahead and arrest these people. You know, one woman got sick after being arrested and had to get some help from paramedics. This video on the ground just minutes ago as MCSO deputies joined by Scottsdale police trying to defuse a very tense situation. You see one of the pickup trucks on a flatbed there. These were pulled up there. They will be towed and impounded. All as protesters, anti-Donald Trump protesters, particularly on the immigration issue, tried to block off a number of areas. There again, one of the protesters had to get cut from the chains that he tied himself to his car with, and has been arrested. Also this morning, Donald Trump.
So I'm going to do it again until I get other units. I know you all don't either. You're trying to get your point across. I get that, but I got to get traffic moving. Do it. Okay, man. They've got designated areas where they set up the protest.
They get off the road. They get off the road.
Police have already
Get off the goddamn road! Are you pushing me?
You guys are friggin' idiots!
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
We apologize for some of the language you may hear out there. Obviously, it's a very tense situation. That video just coming in from NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone, who is on the ground and was in the middle of this traffic jam with the anti-Trump protesters. Tempers are flaring. We'll now take you back to a live look from Sky 12 of where it looks like eastbound Shea. We hear it was open again, but traffic there near Palisades in the Mayo Clinic not moving along very quickly. These protesters, we are told, have been planning the roadblocks, so to speak, for a couple of days leading up to the Trump rally, trying to make as much noise as possible. And they say just trying to cancel the whole thing, possibly trying to repeat what happened in Chicago a week ago on Friday on the 11th, where a Donald Trump rally there was indeed canceled. Live look now, and you can see some traffic. Looks like the left two lanes getting by, some sheriff's deputies and police officers, cars and SUVs on the right side. There are at least, we're hearing now, about 24 of them out there. This traffic backup, though, was quite long. It stretched toward Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in Scottsdale, and we talked to Donald Trump supporters and many other people who are simply stuck in traffic, whether they wanted to go to that rally or they were just out and about on their Saturday morning. You're looking live now at a picture of Fountain Hills Park. This is where the Donald Trump rally is set to start any minute now. It is 11:10. It was supposed to begin at 11 o'clock, but these rallies running late, that's not really a big deal. Remember the last time Donald Trump was here, he was at the convention center downtown, and there were some protests outside, but without all of that, the rally started about an hour or so late. You see MCSO deputies and Secret Service agents there, all providing security. They have heard what has gone on outside of here. They know that some immigration rights groups are ready to protest, and they are ready for anything. Now we'll take a look at more pictures and videos we are getting in of people who are on the scene. This is Rafael Carranza. He is a reporter from La Voz. We talked with him earlier. This is initially when the Puente, Arizona protesters had gotten out there. There's signs there saying dump Trump. It says also shut down Trump and quarantine, stop the Trump effect. We talked with Rafael, who witnessed these protesters chaining themselves to the cars, trucks, and SUVs out there. And he also witnessed them getting cut out by MCSO deputies. He told us that deputies went out there and they tried first asking the protesters to leave, then telling them, and then they had to start using a little bit of force. Two very different varieties of protesters outside Trump's rally in Fountain Hills. That from Jenna Johnson. That one says, love Trump's hate. Again, Puente, Arizona, a lot of their people pushing this out over social media, trying to get the word out about how they do not like Donald Trump's immigration plans, what he says he would do if he is president, including deporting all immigrants who are here illegally and also building a wall with Mexico, as he says, securing the border. More tweets now coming from Puente, Arizona. To be very clear, this is the group that is anti-Trump. This is the group that wants its message known and is causing those traffic blockades, which have since been cleared up. It is 11:12. Donald Trump was in downtown Phoenix earlier this morning. He is set to be on his way to the rally at Fountain Hills Park, where, yes, I'm sure he will address these protesters. He will address immigration. He will very well talk with his friend and a guy who has endorsed him for president, the so-called America's Toughest Sheriff, Joe Arpaio. This video coming in from NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone. We showed it to you earlier. Again, this is sheriff's deputies trying to do the best they can to arrest the protesters out there and more so clear up the streets, because these were two major traffic blockades that happened this morning. We now want to take you back to Fountain Hills Park, where Bram Resnick is live inside of there. Bram, you've been there all morning long. You talked about the potential of a motorcade getting there. Any update on that?
No update. As I told you, we just look for those little signals that tell us something might be happening, little flutters of activity. Deputies have clearly taken their position in the big buffer area that's in front of me. We should also remind folks of why the Puente protesters are out there. Yes, it is Donald Trump and everything he has said about Mexican, about undocumented immigrants.
It is warm out here, so
and you can hear we're getting a reminder to the folks who've been standing out here for hours.
And thanks for your patience. Mr.
Some cases 4, 5, 6 hours waiting for Donald Trump. We were just told Donald Trump will be here shortly. And as I was about to say, we should remind folks what Puente is all about. It's not just Donald Trump and what he says and what he stands for, but again, Fountain Hills, where this event is taking place, is the home of Joe Arpaio, who has lost a court decision ruling that he didn't respect the constitutional rights of Latino drivers. State Senator John Kavanaugh, who has joined Arpaio in his crusade against illegal immigrants, and Governor Jan Brewer. I'll send it to you, Matt.
All right, Bram Resnick.
Okay. Governor Jan Brewer, who signed the infamous SB 1070 in the eyes of many Latino voters. She is their enemy. Brewer has endorsed Trump. Arpaio has endorsed Trump. Kavanaugh, I believe, has endorsed Trump. If he hasn't, he's certainly on his side. So that's what's going on here today. It's Trump, what he stands for. It's our local politicians and state politicians, what they stand for. Don't forget, it's Arizona that made illegal immigration a national issue, going back to Andrew Thomas, the Despard County attorney, going back to Russell Pierce, the state senator who was recalled, and Arpaio and Brewer and all those folks. So this is where it all started. This is a place that'll be very receptive to that message, I expect, from Donald Trump when we hear it, and will probably be very receptive to whatever he says about that blockade going on down there. These folks are not the friends of those folks down there. Now, once again, I'm going to ask our photographer, Jeff Blackburn, to swivel to that crowd on the berm. It is enormous. It is just enormous. There have got to be 5,000 people there. And if that's the case, this rally could be about 10,000 people or so today. So a huge crowd. As we said earlier, they have stopped admitting folks to the main area, I believe. Yes, the check-ins, the security check-in is completely shut down. They are no longer admitting people to the main area, of the speech, right in front of the podium here. As I look to the east, looking for those flutters of any activity, that Donald Trump might be coming. I do not see any right now. When you're in a motorcade, shouldn't take downtown Phoenix. I want to remind folks, his rally in Mesa last December at a hangar out in Mesa, Trump kept people waiting about an hour and a half while he did a talk back with Bill O'Reilly of Fox. That was quite a long wait in a very chilly hangar. Today we're out here in, 80, 90 degree heat, sun beating down on these folks. Beautiful setting, of course. You have a lake out there. You have the iconic fountain, after which Fountain Hills is named. Very charming community, bedroom community, lots of retirees, fairly well off. As we sit and wait for Donald Trump. Cannot tell you when he's going to be here, other than, as I said earlier, I'm told the blockade is having no effect on Trump's arrival here today. No helicopters in the skies around me, so all is quiet right now. And I see the two horsemen have also walked away. So we'll keep looking for those signs, those telltale signs that Donald Trump is on the way. Matt?
12 News political insider Bram Resnick live at Fountain Hills Park inside of the secure area with now, as he is saying, maybe up to 10,000 people waiting inside and outside of that area to see Donald Trump. We hear he is making his way from downtown Phoenix, where he had a town hall earlier this morning, to Fountain Hills without any problems. It's usually about a 45-minute drive or so. He does have Secret Service protection, so his motorcade should be able to make that pretty quickly. However, what happened earlier today, and this is the breaking news we've been following for the last two and a half hours here on 12 News this morning, is protesters blocking some major roads. They are cleared up right now, but earlier today, these protesters from Puente, Arizona, an immigrants' rights group, had shut down eastbound Shea at Palisades near the Mayo Clinic, and also State Route 87 in Shea. And this is a live look from Sky 12 of traffic slowly starting to move again. We know MCSO deputies have arrested a few of these protesters. They have also forcefully towed what we believe at least now 3 to 4 trucks, vans, and SUVs from this area. This is Shea. Again, traffic now slowly starting to move. They have 2 of the 3 lanes open is what it looks like, but this backup was literally stuck at a dead standstill for about 2 hours this morning, going back toward North Scottsdale and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard, if you know that area. I want to show you exactly what happened when some of these arrests were made. NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone has been on the ground there. He rushed out to this area earlier today. We talked with him on the phone, then he also shot this video that you have to take a look at as MCSO deputies cut one of the protesters away from his car that he had chained himself to, then arrested a few more. Can we take a look at that? Oh, we'll get that for you in just 1 second.
Get this clown out of our town! Get this clown out of our town! Get this clown out of our town!
Sure. How long have you been sitting here with protesters?
About a half hour.
What do you think about all this?
Well, I think they have their rights. It's now time they move.
Yeah, they've been out here for
long enough.
Hours.
Yeah.
They can protest, but I don't think they have the right to block the streets.
For this long, yeah.
And have they been nice outside?
Oh, they've been fun. They've been tormenting and fun more than anything. Yeah.
You guys, you think at this point you think you're going to make it in time for Trump's speech?
Well, I think I don't know where I'd park. She can't walk that far.
Looks pretty obvious, but why did it was appropriate to come out here and protest?
Because we don't believe that Trump has a valid candidacy here.
I feel specifically that Trump is racist and a fascist, and I feel like that in these elections, when people like this are running, that we have an obligation as citizens of the United States to stop people like that from being elected into office.
That was 12 News photojournalist Richard Prang on the ground with the protesters and some of the people caught up in the traffic jam they had caused. It had gone on for about 2 hours this morning. One couple there at least taking it in stride the best they could. What you're seeing now is a live look at the lectern where Donald Trump is supposed to speak any minute now as soon as he arrives in Fountain Hills from downtown Phoenix, where he had a town hall meeting this morning. It's 11:21. This rally was supposed to start at 11 o'clock. It's not really anything different or out of the ordinary that these rallies start late. As 12 News political insider Bram Resnick told us, he was out at the Donald Trump rally at the Mesa Gateway Airport. That was back in December. That rally starting about an hour to an hour and a half late. And if you remember the one Donald Trump had back in July at the 11th at the Phoenix Convention Center, this without a lot of protesters blocking streets outside or anything, that one started about an hour late. We are hearing that MCSO or Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio is set to be here and speak potentially, along with possibly former Governor Jan Brewer, both Donald Trump supporters. Joe Arpaio telling the website, the political website Politico, earlier this week that it's going to be a lot of fun taking care of business out here. This as they, MCSO deputies and the Secret Service, were expecting protest. And also Joe Arpaio telling Politico that he was very excited about this endorsement. He's made a lot of endorsements, not just of presidential candidates, but of a number of candidates over the years. And he said this one just had a different feel about it. And he was very excited to go ahead and do that. Bram Resnick is inside there. He is hearing from his sources inside of the Donald Trump campaign that Donald Trump's motorcade, guided by the Secret Service, is not being affected by the protesters who were out there. Again, those streets, eastbound Shea at Palisades and also State Route 87 in Shea, they have been cleared. Traffic, though, going to take a while to get back. As you can imagine, you take 3-lane roads and you go ahead and block those. It creates quite the tie-up. And I believe next we're going to go to, as we sit here at 11:22, video of the arrest. This is from NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone, who rushed out here with the Puente, Arizona protesters as soon as this started. Shortly before 9:30 this morning, at least 4 of those protesters, maybe 5, had literally chained themselves to their vehicles to try to disrupt this rally. Their goal, potentially, to go ahead and get the whole thing canceled. They wanted to cause a scene. That they certainly have done this morning. This is the video there of an MCSO deputy. We heard from that deputy earlier in this video saying, yes, you can protest, you just can't do it in the middle of a 3-lane road. There is a designated protest area. Obviously, these protesters from Puente, Arizona, immigrant rights protesters, had a very different idea in mind. We believe a total of 5 of them chained themselves to their vehicles. They had to be cut out, in some cases using the jaws of life. They were then carried away and arrested. As for their vehicles, they have been towed off of flatbed trucks. Jacob Rascone, the NBC News correspondent who shot this video, told us he talked with one of the organizers from Puente, Arizona, and said they planned this 2 to 3 days ago, that they wanted 2 to 3 lines of defense, and they wanted to go ahead and create a ruckus, so to speak, and that they have done. These are aerial shots as those protesters started out there. That van, that pickup truck, has since been towed. This off of Shea and Palisades. Now we have more video coming in from 12 News photojournalist Chris Latella. He's down there on the scene as well. And this is showing what happened earlier today. This is outside of the Donald Trump town hall. A very different scene. Protesters, yes, but these ones are on the sidewalk. This was about 8 o'clock this morning, 9 o'clock, as Donald Trump was holding that town hall. Again, we don't know what group these protesters are with. But they were outside of the town hall meeting for Donald Trump at the Phoenix Convention Center. Again, a very different scene, not in the road, but on the sidewalk, in, if you would want to call it that, a public space or an area where protesting is fine. And this did not really cause a disturbance. This went on for pretty much the whole time that Donald Trump was downtown, and the few hours leading up to it. People, Donald Trump supporters, for their end, lined up before the sun came up to go ahead to get an inside look and to listen to hear what Donald Trump had to say there. And it was from this town hall that we believe is supposed to end about 10 o'clock this morning, an hour and a half ago, that Donald Trump would take his Secret Service motorcade out to Fountain Hills Park to have this rally. It is now 11:25. We'll go back out live to Fountain Hills Park. This is where 12 News political insider Bram Resnick, who has been covering the Trump campaigns all of this election season and has covered many elections in the past, is live there this morning. And Bram, any word on when Donald Trump might show up?
I was just told a minute ago the motorcade's on the way. They'll get him one way here, one way or another. That's the best information I have right now. Lots of folks waiting, still at attention, the buffer zone. Let's go back to talk some politics. We haven't talked politics in a while. Donald Trump has led this race wire to wire since he announced back in June that he was running for president here in Arizona. Polls have shown him ahead in every poll taken right up to just a week or two ago. Right now, Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, is main opposition for the Republican nomination for president. Cruz is about 12 points behind in Arizona. Of course, our primary presidential preference election is coming up on Tuesday, so it looks like Trump will take that, and it is a winner-take-all state, so he would get all 58 Arizona delegates, putting him further ahead in the race to get the magic number needed to become the Republican presidential nominee. He is favored to get those delegates. Again, back here, lots of folks wonder, what's the crowd like? What's a Trump crowd like? I get that question a lot. I'll tell you, it's a mix of people, young and old. And certainly on Saturday, I think we're seeing more younger people since school's out. Lots of people can attend. It's a mix of young and old. A lot of different income ranges, but I will say it is a largely Anglo crowd, largely white crowd I see out here today. Not too many people of color, which probably doesn't surprise many of our viewers right now, given where Donald Trump stands on a lot of the issues. And right now they are standing and waiting, and lots of them fanning themselves with their Trump placards, as we wait. Donald Trump will be going to Tucson as well later today. Pretty ambitious schedule. He had that town hall on Fox this morning with Sean Hannity. Is he going to be here, we expect, sometime in the next hour or so, and he'll be in Tucson later this afternoon. Very ambitious schedule for a man who believes, or seems to believe, he should have Arizona wrapped up. Ted Cruz did one event in Phoenix last night, also toured the border with our Arizona House Speaker. Trump clearly devoting more time to Arizona. He has more time in part because he bowed out of a scheduled Republican debate Monday night in Utah. They have a primary election that day as well. He bowed out of that debate in Salt Lake City, so he's got a bit more time on his hands. Though I think I've heard him say before he doesn't have to practice too much for debates. He just wings it. He may have offended some people in Utah last night at an event in Salt Lake City when he questioned whether Mitt Romney, the most prominent member of the LDS Church in our country, aside from the church hierarchy, he questioned whether Mitt Romney was a Mormon. You've heard Donald Trump say all kinds of things over the last 8 or 9 months of his candidacy. That's one more that makes your eyes roll and wonder how that will go over. We were proved wrong when he went after John McCain shortly after Trump became a candidate, questioning John McCain's military service and status as a hero. That shocked people. By now, we're used to being shocked by what Donald Trump says. Some would say we're too used to being shocked by what Donald Trump says. So he'll have lots to talk about, given that Ted Cruz was here just last night. You've heard him call Ted Lion Ted. I expect we'll hear more of that today. I expect we'll hear something about the blockade in particular that really is delaying his trip up here from downtown Phoenix. We're going to hear a lot about it. And as I think I heard, we understand some of those protesters might be marching up here. They might have a tough time getting here because the main drag was blocked off hours ago. Matt, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you for the insight. Bram, you talked about those protesters potentially marching that way. Our Nico Santos has left the park. He has joined them now. He joins me now on the phone. Nico, where are you and how many protesters are you with right now? Oh, we're trying to get a hold of Nico Santos, our reporter who's supposed to be on the phone. He left the park, Fountain Hills Park. You're seeing live aerials. This is what Bram was trying to describe, so that what looks relatively small in these live aerials from Sky 12 is easily a few thousand people inside of a secured area. They have gone through Secret Service detail there to get inside, and then maybe double that amount, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 more on a lawn berm with about 100-foot grassy protection barrier in between, protected by a number of MCSO deputies. They are on ATVs. They are mounted on horseback. Nico Santos, we're going to try to go back to you marching with the protesters. Where are you and what are you seeing?
Yeah, it seems like the cell phone service out here has been pretty tough, so you'll forgive me if we cut in and out here. I'm on my cell phone right now. We walked, I would say, about a quarter to a half a mile down away from the park on Saguaro, so we're still on the same street, and there are about a dozen or more protesters that were originally part of the Puente organization's protest where the street blockade was, and people chained themselves to their cars and things like that. Because those roads were blocked off, these protesters, as well as some people trying to get to the Trump event, decided to walk because the roads were closed off, and we see a number of them with masks on their face, a number of them holding signs, one saying, "Send Trump back to reality TV," another one saying, "Speak love, not hate," and Trump loves Trump hate and things like that. So they're marching, southbound on Saguaro towards the park here, trying to, their goal is to interact with some of the protesters here. We don't know how peaceful that may remain, even though that's their goal. But they're barely approaching at this moment right now the park area. So they're
starting their interactions right now, and it could be a very tense situation because they're not happy. We interviewed a couple of them, and they were talking about how they don't want not even Trump to be president. Of course, they also don't want him in our state. They don't want him anywhere talking about immigration, the border, and things like that. So we got some very passionate people on their way to this rally, of course, who are strongly disagreeing with the Trump supporters who came out here since early this morning. Matt?
All right, thank you, Nico. They may march their way to that rally, but as our Bram Resnick mentioned, from inside, they're not going to be able to get very close to where Donald Trump will be speaking. MCSO and the Secret Service there setting up a number of barriers. You're looking at video here from NBC News correspondent Jacob Rascone. This about 45 minutes, an hour or so ago, as MCSO deputies cut away one of the Puente, Arizona protesters, picked that person up and carried that person away and chained him or herself to a vehicle out there. We know deputies have made at least 3 or 4 arrests so far this morning. They have forcibly towed a number of cars, trucks, and SUVs. Nico, are you still on the line? Okay, I apologize about that. They've gone ahead and towed 3, 4 cars, trucks, SUVs. Shea Boulevard is back open. This by the Mayo Clinic at Palisades, also at State Route 87. However, the traffic backup is still quite intense. That traffic was completely stopped, all 3 lanes of Shea, for at least 2 hours. This morning, some incredible video here from Jacob Rascone and NBC. We have crews on the ground in that area giving us a good insight into what people are seeing, whether it be the protesters or some of the Trump supporters. Can we take a look at that?
We're blocking entrance to this hate rally. That's what it's about. Love. Practice love, be better humans. Dump Trump.
You know, I would like to see Trump run against Hillary, but I can't take that chance that he might win. So I've got to be out here protesting. No. I'm sure Hillary can beat him, but...
No, I saw protests out here. Not all of you were blocking traffic.
No, I'm not.
You were on the sidewalk?
Yeah, I was not in the middle of the street, and most of my group is not in the middle of the street. I'm with Puente, Latina group, and MoveOn.org. So no, we stayed over here. A group called Anonymous and some Palestinian people came in, and they were all wearing black, bandanas, and they all came in and just started blocking the street. So.
America great again.
Let's say that one more time.
Time to make America great again.
You know, a number of different views from a number of different people who are stuck in traffic there as the anti-Trump protesters blocked off Shea in 2 different areas for about 2 hours this morning. We now go live to Nico Santos, who is with some of those protesters. Nico, what are they saying and where are you?
Matt, you're going to have to forgive me because I'm having trouble hearing you at this time. My earpiece is going in and out, but we're back in action with the camera here now, and we have some people that have joined here the Trump rally with their own form of protest. And I did want to ask you if you could explain your signage here to us today.
Yes. Well, I take Trump's running for president very seriously. I'm quite afraid. His rhetoric sounds of fascism and nationalism and reminds me of the things that Hitler said before World War II.
There's a number of people here, obviously in the thousands right now, that are here supporting Donald Trump, saying that he's the right person for the presidency because he's not a politician, because he doesn't answer to anybody. Do none of those details about this candidate make you feel better as him on the ballot, maybe?
I listen to Trump words, and what he says is toxic. It's racist. He is unprepared to be president of America, and he's he's misogynistic. He's profane. I can't imagine a worse person running for president.
Why do you not?
So why'd you come out today? What draw you out today to spread this message? Because this is a rally set up for Donald Trump and his supporters, but you have a different message.
And we apologize, Nico Santos' signal there kind of cutting out a little bit, but he's giving us some insight into some of the anti-Donald Trump protesters who've been out on the streets there for hours. Live aerials from Sky 12 of the Donald Trump rally. This at Fountain Hills Park. Inside of that secured area on the top part of the screen, you have a few thousand people. And then on the outside, on the berm of a lawn there, you have many more thousands. One of those who is inside is State Senator John Kavanaugh. He is a Donald Trump supporter. He is there, and he joins me this morning on the phone. Senator Kavanaugh, thank you for joining me. Any update on when Donald Trump might be there and this rally could get started?
Well, the only word that we've gotten here, I'm behind the stage, is that he's en route. But it's hard to say because of these people, these demonstrators, which is a generous term for them. I would call them anti-democracy fascists who are blocking the road, attempting to stop over 10,000 people who are peaceably assembled in Fountain Park in the hot sun waiting to hear a candidate. What a disgrace that these people would do this. And the first thing that I'll be doing on Monday when I get to the legislature is to try to get a new bill into the mix to increase the penalty for those who obstruct traffic in an attempt to interfere with anybody's political campaign. This is about democracy. This is about informing voters. These people are the fascists, and we're going to crack down on them.
Okay, State Senator John Kavanaugh joining me live. He is at the Donald Trump rally, literally behind the stage between that and the fountain at Fountain Hills Park. What do you expect Donald Trump to talk about this morning? Obviously, he's probably going to address these protesters, and as we've heard Donald Trump speak in the past, he will not be too kind about it and will frankly speak his mind.
Well, I certainly hope he does to take these protests, and again, I don't call them protesters. I call them fascist demagogues. Protesters are what some people are doing on the periphery right now. They're peaceably voicing their dislike for Donald Trump, and that's fine. I respect that. What these people are doing on the highways, they're not protesters. They're criminals, and they're the worst type of criminal because they're corrosive to our democratic system, and we're going to pass laws to crack down on this, and maybe President Trump will pass a federal law too.
Were you surprised to see them at Fountain Hills Park and on the way there? I know we've seen them in Donald Trump rallies all across the country. Were you surprised to see them in your backyard?
Well, no. Everybody knew there would be demonstrators here because this is democracy. Fountain Hills what's happening right now in Fountain Hills is America at its best. We have all these people here to listen to and approve and cheer Donald Trump. And at the same time, we have demonstrators on the side who are peaceably protesting. That's America. What's happening on the highways outside of Fountain Hills, that's Nazi Germany. That's the bad stuff. But I understand that they will be arriving very shortly, by the way. There's a lot of activity suddenly occurring here.
Okay, State Senator John Kavanaugh, who is literally behind the stage that you just saw at Fountain Hills Park. State Senator, thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Stay safe out there. We now want to go join 12 News political insider Bram Resnick. Bram, I'm not sure if you just heard that, but the State Senator Kavanaugh just mentioned that when he gets back to the Capitol on Monday, he wants to introduce a bill that would increase the penalty for disrupting campaign rallies. You've covered the State House here for a long time. Surprised by that at all?
I have no doubt State Senator John Kavanaugh will do that. These folks blocking in the streets, members of the Puente movement, they are mutual enemies. They don't care for each other. They've been battling each other for years over immigration legislation. It's been going on for a decade or more now in Arizona. What was the phrase he used? Anti-democracy fascists. We're going to crack down on them. I have no doubt John Kavanaugh will do that, although it might be too late to introduce a bill. There's a way to sneak it in. He might have to do some work to sneak that in. We also heard him say he thinks there's some activity down the road. Maybe. Again, don't want to get people all agitated by speculating about this again, but we're still waiting. He did see some activity when he was on the phone with you, Matt, and so did I. But we've done that. We've seen that several times before over the last, it's 45 minutes now since we've been waiting for Trump. He's 45 minutes past his planned start time. I've been told he's on his way. I kind of doubt it, to be honest with you. If he was on his way, probably would have been here by now with the motorcade he has. So I just can't tell you exactly what's going on. It is possible the blockade's holding him up, or perhaps something else. And going back to John Kavanaugh for a second, he's the state senator, longtime ally of Russell Pierce. They were partners on the SB 1070 legislation that at the time in 2010 was the toughest legislation in the country against illegal immigration. Kavanaugh even went so far a few years after that to want to amend the 14th Amendment, basically not allowing anyone born here, sorry, I'm just something down there caught my eye where we're expecting Trump to come from. To continue what I was saying, wanting to do away with birthright citizenship. In other words, if you're the child of an American parent, if you're born here to a non-American parent, you are an American under the Constitution. John Kavanaugh wanted to do away with that and did not succeed. And Matt, we'll send it back to you.
All right, 12 News political insider Bram Resnick live there. We are seeing these live aerials now from Sky 12. This is what we believe might be Donald Trump's motorcade making its way from downtown out to Fountain Hills in this rally. They obviously have a police escort and Secret Service escort as well. The regular cars and trucks on the side of the road have pulled over to the left in that median, and the motorcade there, the dark colored SUVs over on the right side. This looks like this is potentially Shea, maybe in the area where the protesters were earlier. It's normally about a 45 minute drive from downtown out to Fountain Hills, particularly with no traffic on a Saturday morning. Yet, as Bram alluded to, Donald Trump, known like many other White House candidates to run late to rallies, that you get tied up, you do interviews with other news media, and things just take more time, or people just talk longer than they are expected to do. This rally set to start at 11 o'clock. It is now 11:43. 12 News is in continuous breaking news coverage of this rally in Fountain Hills and of the protest that had blocked Shea Boulevard in two different places. We were hearing at one point it could be from the group Puente Arizona, yet we heard from one of the other protesters that potentially the group Anonymous and other protesters were involved too. We cannot confirm that information. That is just what we are hearing from some of the folks on the ground. But again, you're looking at live pictures from Sky 12 of Shea Boulevard and what we believe could very well be Donald Trump's motorcade, guided by police, sheriff's deputies, and Secret Service agents on the way from downtown Phoenix out to Fountain Hills. This is on Shea Boulevard, which was closed down for about 2 hours this morning, thanks to some protesters that we believe Donald Trump will have some less than kind words for once he gets to this rally. 12 News has confirmed that at least 3 of those protesters have been arrested. We'd hear that maybe 4 to 5 of them had gone ahead and chained themselves to their cars. They were cut from there, those cars, trucks, and SUVs, then towed on flatbed trailers. The motorcade there making a left and getting closer and closer to the rally. Police, sheriff's deputies, and Secret Service agents blocking off the road, trying to get Donald Trump to this rally where we believe there may be, say up to 10,000 people in the vicinity ready to see Donald Trump, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 inside of a secure Secret Service area. And there we see some motorcycle, looks like law enforcement officers zipping by, one on the left side of the screen and another one trailing on the right side, potentially to go ahead and block the road. There goes another one to get ahead of this motorcade. That is what they do. They kind of, you should call it hopscotch, to go ahead and make sure everything is blocked off. Again, the Secret Service now in charge of Donald Trump's security detail. Everything is very planned. It is very thorough. These are the best agents in the country. They guide the president and they guide some of the presidential candidates, as they have been doing for decades here in the United States. Another turn for this motorcade, getting closer and closer to Fountain Hills Park. Again, we believe this is Donald Trump's motorcade finally making its way to Fountain Hills Park, where he's set to hold a rally. That rally was supposed to start at 11 o'clock this morning, obviously delayed for 45 minutes. We do not know if it was delayed because of the anti-Trump protesters who had blocked off 3 lanes, all of Shea Boulevard in 2 different places this morning, tied up traffic for 2 hours, or if the rally has been delayed simply because Donald Trump was running late, if his town hall downtown went long, or if he stayed chatting or doing whatever it is a presidential candidate does. You see law enforcement officers there on the motorbikes zipping past the Secret Service. We believe the Secret Service SUV, and some more of the details there. You see 2 SUVs that look very, very similar, along with 2 sedans that look similar. That's very typical Secret Service fashion, so that nobody knows exactly what unit the person they are protecting would be in. Our Nico Santos is live on the ground. He is at the rally and around some people there. It looks like it's shot maybe freezing. Nico, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but we're seeing a lot of people at Fountain Hills Park, and they are on the outside and it does look like we are having technical difficulties. Very hard to get a signal out of there because of the location of Fountain Hills and also the fact that so many people, up to 10,000 of them, are there, and many of them are on their phone right there trying to figure out exactly what is going on. You're watching continuous breaking news coverage of this Donald Trump rally and the protest here in the Valley. These are some of the protesters' signs, we believe. This is at Fountain Hills Park. And what you should know is that there is a secure area where there's about 3,000 to 4,000 people. They have gone through Secret Service checks. And then there's also a safe area of about 100 feet or so, and then thousands of people on the outside. Our political insider, Bram Resnick, is inside of this. Bram, what are you seeing now? It looks like we're seeing a lot of protesters getting closer and closer to you.
Protesters.
Bram, are you there?
Matt, the protesters, this is a fairly large group of protesters, several dozen. I think you can see them now. They're carrying signs. They are moving into the berm area that's separated by that security barrier and marching right through that crowd of thousands on the berm. I can't read the signs from where I'm standing, but they are chanting, and it appears to me they are being heckled by some of the folks in the crowd. I just hear a lot of noise coming from there. While behind me the music is playing. You can read the signs on your screen, I believe. Protest signs. I saw a drawing of Hitler on one sign. So those are the Puente protesters and others, I would assume, marching right through the crowd of 10,000 on that berm. And they marched down Saguaro Drive, which we believed was blocked off, but they got through, and they are moving through this crowd very quickly. I don't know where their ultimate destination is, but again, several dozen protesters carrying signs, moving through this crowd of thousands, probably 5,000 I would estimate, on the berm. They are separated from the main area where the speech is taking place by a security barrier and then a large space of about 50 yards wide, large grassy space that keeps them at a distance. With the music blaring here, you can't hear what they're saying, although most people in the crowd now have turned around to take a look at what's going on. I am concerned that it could get a little ugly in there. You never know. But this is a big crowd, and they are still streaming through. I believe they're now entirely off the street. Again, several dozen people. I can see one sign in red. Donald, my son, I'm your father. Never mind. Not a good idea to read signs at a rally. At the same time, we are waiting for Donald Trump to arrive at any moment, coming in from the east and the south in his motorcade. So it looks like they have stopped. They have stopped. So they're now not quite in the front rows of the crowd, but in the lower levels of this crowd of 5,000.
We're going to try to move again. We lost
in the berm. In the berm, they are chanting. I cannot hear what they're chanting, and it appears some folks in the crowd are chanting back at them. And as I look to my left, in the direction of where we expect Donald Trump, I see what looks like a motorcade. It appears a motorcade is coming with Donald Trump. Yes, here comes the motorcade. I know I may have let you down before, folks. Maybe you felt fooled, misled, but here comes the motorcade. Those are Phoenix PD, the motorcade, peeling off as they bring Donald Trump through a back way. They are separated from where this crowd, the protesters are. We hear the crowd on the berm cheering. They can see the motorcade too, pulling in
here as we take a look at live aerials of what you were talking about. Donald Trump's motorcade making its way into Fountain Hills Park through a very secured area. Sky 12 showing you this. You saw some of the Phoenix Police motorcycle units and their patrol units pulling away. You see 4 black, looks like 2 sedans and 2 SUVs. Donald Trump, we assume, rightfully so, in one of those, slowly making its way over to the stage and behind the crowd. That is the secure area that you see on the right there. Live aerials from Sky 12. We apologize, they may go in.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Mr. Trump has arrived.
And they just announced it. Donald Trump has arrived. He is in that SUV. He has his hat on. We presume it is his hat that he always wears that says "Make America Great Again." It is his campaign slogan. He's only about 50 minutes behind schedule, which if you look at other Donald Trump rallies with major protests and street blockades or not, is pretty much what is considered on time for him. He was in downtown Phoenix doing a town hall earlier this morning, and then he made his way over there. Some major protest on the streets of Shea Boulevard. It was blocked off in two areas, all three lanes of it. Those are protesters. We can confirm 3 of them have been arrested this morning. And now we're trying to take a look at more aerials from Sky 12. The black SUV, the Secret Service escort for
Matt,
Donald
if I can jump in, Matt. It appears Trump's SUV has pulled up behind the stage. We expect him to emerge at any minute. Once the music stops, you might hear the crowd of protesters that is, 50 to 75 yards away from where Trump is speaking, quite a distance. It appears Secret Service preparing to escort Donald Trump to the stage. The music is quieting now. Music quieting now, waiting for a door to open. Here comes State Treasurer Jeff DeWitt. State Treasurer Jeff DeWitt, chairman of the Trump campaign in Arizona.
State Treasurer Jeff DeWitt.
Let's try to listen to Jeff DeWitt. I'm not sure it looks like he is going to say a few words, and I see Jeff DeWitt's family coming up behind him, his wife Marina.
Look at this crowd.
And do I see their daughters? I don't know.
What a great group of Americans we have today.
I see Jan Brewer in the background. Jan Brewer is here, talking to Sheriff Joe Arpaio right now.
Thank God that we have been given the gift of one of our brightest minds in our country, a true business success, the man who's going to make America great again. This is the proof of why more people have already voted in this election than all the people in 2008 and 2012. Already, with 20 states to go, this and Donald Trump. We are so lucky to have him. I don't want to waste too much time before we get to him, but I'm going to introduce somebody else that's going to talk to you today. It is my pleasure to introduce to you. Everybody say hello to Governor Jan Brewer.
Hello, everybody. This is so fabulous. I am so honored to be here today with you in support of the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. You know, I've known Donald for a long time, and he is a man that I know has so much integrity, and he is such a thoughtful, kind person. But I will tell you, when you sit down with Donald and you talk to him, he listens, and he has listened to all of you. You know, we have a president who has failed the American people. And it's time for a change. And we here in Arizona we're going to propel Donald Trump to that seat. And you know, Donald has a terrific agenda. He has great initiative for bringing our economy back. He's going to grow jobs, and he is going to look out for the small business. He's going to restructure the tax structure. And not only that, he is going to build the fence. the people. We are the people. Our votes count. And Donald Trump has over 2 million more votes than any of the other candidates, taking us into that primary. So we're going to have a big victory on Tuesday. And President Trump will be back to visit us. And we will be happy and we will be protected. So thank you all so very, very much for all your support. And I tell you, being here in Fountain Hill, is this not drop dead gorgeous? It's beautiful. And today we have with us the toughest sheriff in America. And Sheriff Joe is going to come up here and talk to you in his hometown. Please welcome Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
All right, thank you. America is now going to realize where Fountain Hills, Arizona is. And isn't it great that our next president picked this great town? Actually, don't tell anybody for security reasons, but you can see my house from here. So you know how close I am. My wife can see me on the porch. So thank you for coming. I know we had a little problem. Some demonstrators were trying to disrupt. And because of them, you had to get a little more sunshine, but we made it. And 3 of them are in jail. And so if they think they're going to intimidate you, and the next president of the United States, not going to happen. Not in this town, I'll tell you right now. So, let me just, I want to do this quick because our next president is waiting to come here. But I want to just say a couple of things about Donald Trump. I've been involved in a lot of presidential campaigns, you know that. But I met Donald when he was here the first time in July. Thousands of people came out to see him. Thousands. And that's when I first introduced him. And something gave me, my gut feeling told me that he is different. He's going to do things differently. And also, I'm a senior citizen. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything, but I do have gut feeling. And from day one, I knew this was the guy. This was the guy. Day one. And I've done some introductions of him across the country, and I'm so proud of him. I know all of you are, because at least we got somebody that's not afraid to speak out or is politically correct or doesn't have some great issues like illegal immigration. And he's saying he's going to build a wall. Yeah, it's going to be built. And I'll tell you what, if they don't pay for that wall, then we should take away their foreign aid in Mexico, and then they'll pay. And another thing, since I lived in Mexico and was a diplomatic attaché, and I've been overseas fighting drugs for many years, guess who the most important person is next to the president to deal with international affairs? That's the Secretary of State. So where was Hillary? How many times has she gone to Mexico and the president to stop the drug traffic and the illegal immigration problem? And why would a former president, Vicente Fox, make vicious vicious comments about someone running for president in our country, which happens to be Mr. Trump. I didn't see anybody get excited about that. When he makes a couple comments at a rally, they make it a big issue. But anyway, I've got enough to say right now, but I want to introduce Donald Trump, our next president of the United States. Thank you.
You have some sheriff. There's no games with your sheriff, that's for sure. And Jan, thank you so much. And Jeff, boy, oh boy, we have such great support. And Tuesday is so important. We have a movement going on, folks. We've got to make that movement go forward. You have the establishment. They don't know what they're doing. They have no clue. They don't know how to win. They haven't won in a long time. They pick the people that they absolutely will never win with the people they talk about. Go out on Tuesday and vote. I will never let you down. Remember. And I want to tell you, you know, so much about illegal immigration, and so much has been mentioned about it and talked about it. And these politicians are all talk, no action. They're never going to do anything. They only picked it up because when I went and when I announced that I'm running for president, I said, you know, this country has a big, big problem with illegal immigration. And all of a sudden, we started talking about it. And then you had lots of bad things happening. Crime all over the place, and for the first time, people saw what was going on. You had the killing of Kate. You had the killing of Jamil. You had so many killings, so much crime. Drugs pouring through the border. People are now seeing it, and you know what? We're going to build the wall, and we're going to stop it. It's going to end. I only wish these cameras, because there's nothing as dishonest as the media. That I can tell you. I only wish these cameras would spin around and show the kind of people that we have, the numbers of people that we have here. I just wish they'd for once do it, because you know what? We have a silent majority that's no longer so silent. It's now the loud, noisy majority, and we're going to be heard. We're going to be heard. So today on Drudge, one of the very big stories were the border agents. They say they support Trump, that Trump is the only one running that has their backs, okay? And they can do the job, but they don't get support from the politicians. Now, why? I'm self-funding my campaign. I'm putting up my own money. These guys are all, I look at them all up and down. We started off with 17. We're down now to 3. Don't we love that? Don't we love it? Don't we love it? We lost the future of the Republican Party last Tuesday in Florida. You know that. He was the future. He was the future of the Republican Party, except I won Florida in a landslide because people are tired of what the politicians are doing to our country. Remember that. They're tired of it. They're sick and tired of it. So we're going to make change, but it's not going to be Obama change. Remember Obama? Change. This is going to be real change. And we're going to have a border. And unless you have a border, you don't have a country, folks. You don't have a country. Remember that. Now, in addition, and we'll go through a list of things very quickly because, frankly, it doesn't take a long time. We're going to end Common Core. We're going to bring education. Will be local. Everybody wants it. We don't want our children educated by bureaucrats from Washington, D.C. So we end Common Core education local. We're going to terminate Obamacare. We're going to repeal it and replace it with great health care for far less money. That's going to happen. That is going to happen. We are going to protect our Second Amendment. Our Second Amendment. Remember, it's under siege like you've never seen before, and we are going to protect it. You know, in Paris, which has the toughest gun laws of the world, no tougher gun laws than Paris. France, tough. Guess what? 130 people dead. No bullets were going in the opposite direction. It was just boom, boom, boom. Same thing happened in California. 14 people, radicalized people. She probably radicalized him. They went in and killed 14 people that they worked with, supposedly that they liked. It's not going to happen anymore, folks. It's not going to happen. We're going to be smart. We're going to be vigilant. We're going to be the smart people. We're going to know what we're doing. We're going to be proud of our country again. Our military is depleted. Our military is exhausted. We don't replenish. We take, we don't replenish. We send the best equipment in the world over to wherever we're sending it. We don't even know. I don't even think we know where we're sending it. And a bullet gets fired in the air, and the people we send the equipment to, they flee, and the enemy takes over this great equipment, and they have better equipment than we do, and they're using our equipment. Those days are done. Those days are done. We are going to rebuild our military. It's going to be bigger and better and stronger than ever. And hopefully nobody, and hopefully we're not going to have to use it, but I guarantee you this, nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to mess with us anymore. All right? Nobody. I love you too. I love you too. I love you. You know, I love this country. I have such a spot in my heart for this country. The people are so amazing. No matter where we go, we have crowds like this. I mean, this is a pretty big one. In Alabama, we had 35,000 people. Oklahoma, no matter where we go, we have these massive crowds. And by the way, are we winning or what? Look at the numbers. Man. You know, it's really amazing. To me, it's really amazing. We've won now, I think, 21 states, okay? 21. And we've won in massive, massive landslides. Started with New Hampshire. I wasn't supposed to win New Hampshire. Ted Cruz, can you believe it? He wasn't born in our country, folks. He was born in Canada. He's weak on immigration. He's in favor of amnesty. He shouldn't even be in the same category with the people that we're talking about. But Ted Cruz was supposed to win, but definitely was going to win in South Carolina. So I go to New Hampshire. We win in a massive landslide. We go to South Carolina where you have the evangelicals. Now, 68%. But, you know, Lyin' Ted, we call him Lyin' Ted. Lyin' Ted. So Lyin' Ted comes up with the Bible high, and he's going with the Bible. He puts it down, and he starts lying. And you know what? the evangelicals don't like liars. So we go into South Carolina. That was his stronghold. That was going to be an easy victory. And Trump wins it in a landslide, right? In a landslide. And then one after another, we go in, we win Nevada, landslide. We win the SEC, we did so great. And then we had a great day on Tuesday. You know that we won 5. And then I hear Cruz the other day, and he's going, I'm the only one that can stop Trump. I'm the only one. You ever hear this guy? I'm the only one. I beat him 5 times. And I said, well, wait a minute. I beat him 20 times. What's going on? Lying Ted. He's lying Ted. And, you know, I'll tell you, Kasich is a nice guy, but honestly, very weak on illegal immigration. That's the end of him, certainly as far as Phoenix is concerned. And as far as Arizona is concerned, Kasich is very, very weak, as you know. And, you know, there's another thing that I don't like. He approved NAFTA. When you approve NAFTA, a lot of your businesses that left, and he's in favor of TPP, and so, by the way, is Ted Cruz. TPP is a disaster. It's got Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's a disaster. It's going to take your businesses away. It's going to decimate the automobile industry. You don't want it. You don't need it. We will make great deals. Once I get into office, we will make great deals, but not with massive amounts of countries. You do them one at a time, folks, one at a time, one at a time. One at a time, and if they misbehave and if they don't treat us properly, we terminate, and we put them in the shed, and then maybe they come back. So crazy. You know, I built a great company, a massive company, a fantastic company, and I did my filings, and they were so unhappy when they saw it. They thought, maybe it's not so good. It's a phenomenal company, some of the great assets of the world, of the world. Very little debt, very, very tremendous cash flow, all of these things. And I say it not at a bragging, I say it, you know what, folks? Bottom line, this is the kind of mentality we need in this country, at least for a while. At least for a while. We have $19 trillion in debt. $19 trillion. Who knows even what a trillion is? You know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you never even heard the term. We have $19 trillion in debt, going to 21. They just approved a budget, which is a disaster, the omnibus. They call it the omnibus budget, right? It is a total disaster. It funds Obamacare. It funds Syrians coming into the United States. We have no idea who they are. It funds illegal immigrants coming in and through your border, right through Phoenix and right through, it comes right through Arizona. All of these things are funded with the budget that they approved. And I think it took them like 12 minutes to approve the budget. Not going to happen anymore, folks. Not going to happen anymore. So here's the story, bottom line. The bottom line. It is, first of all, it's great to be with you. This is incredible. We expected, and this was just set up recently, and we had, by the way, last night, I don't know if you saw, we had an unbelievable evening in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I hope they go with us. I hope they go with us. I said, we have to stop there. We stopped, and we had an amazing evening there. But let me just tell you, and the way I finish is very simple. Our country is not winning anymore. Our trade is a disaster. China it's one of the great robberies in the history of the world, what China has done to our country. China has been rebuilt because of the money and the jobs we've lost and the money that we've given them. We have rebuilt China, and they know it. I have many friends from China. I don't have any objection to China. I think it's wonderful. I'm angry at our people, not their people, if you can get away with it. So look, we've rebuilt China. And it's not free trade. It's not anything. This is horrible, stupid trade. When you have an imbalance of $500 billion a year, folks, we got to get smart. I have Carl Icahn. I have the greatest negotiators in the world. I have the greatest business people in the world. They've all endorsed me. They say Trump's the only one that knows what corporate inversion is. You look at the corporate inversions. companies, Pfizer, great company, Pfizer just announced they're leaving, the great drug company. Thousands of jobs. They're going to Ireland. Many companies, as you know, are going to Mexico. Carrier Air Conditioner, Nabisco, Ford. Where are they going? They're going to Mexico. Mexico, mark my words, Mexico is a small version of China. And we better get smart, and we better get smart quickly. So, you know, I tell this story, and it's sort of obvious, but it relates to a lot of things. Now, my wife and my daughter Ivanka said to me, act presidential, act presidential. Like in the last debate, I acted presidential, okay? I acted. I didn't hit Little Marco, and I didn't hit Lion Ted. I didn't want to hit him. I wanted to really impress my daughter and my wife, and I said, all right, I'll act. And I won the debate. You know, I've won every single debate according to the online polls. I don't know. Because I know that Cruz is a good debater, but he can't talk. You know, he talks to you. Hey, wah, hey. Not the right guy. Not the right guy. He's not going to be the right guy. And he's not going anywhere, so it's not going to happen. The only one that can go, and I say we make it before the convention, by the way. It's a lot of nonsense. You have these stiffs like a Mitt Romney. The guy's a total stiff. Did he let us down? This guy is a loser. Did he let us down? I mean, here's a guy, goes up. He's so devastated. He forgot to campaign in the final month. He gave it to Obama. Believe me, that election, I'm going to beat Hillary so badly. But let me just tell you. Beating Obama 4 years ago was easier than beating Hillary Clinton now, believe me. And Mitt Romney choked, pure and simple. He choked like a dog, and that's not going to happen. That doesn't happen with me. So here's the story. Here's the story. We're going to tell our companies, come on back, folks, come on back. You left. We had incompetent leadership. You left. And they're not going to come back. They're going to say, we're not coming back. Why should we? We're in Mexico. We're all over the place. Here's what we have to do. You know, Jeb Bush would say, he is not a conservative. I'm conservative, folks, but I'm also like smart, you know, smart. Hey, look, Jeb spent $48 million in New Hampshire. I spent $2 million. I won in a landslide. He was number 6. I mean, give me a break, okay? Give me a break. He is not a conservative. I am a conservative, but, you know, they get me on trade because they say he's not a free trader. I'm a free trader, but it's got to be smart trade. It's got to be good for us, not bad for us, okay? And if our incompetent politicians use political hacks to negotiate trade deals, people that have no clue about money or deals, that have not read The Art of the Deal, in all fairness, and don't intend to, it's not of interest to them. Look at John Kerry. Look at the deal he made with Iran. One of the worst deals ever negotiated. One of the worst deals ever negotiated. Look at, it's a disgrace. It's an embarrassment. By the way, on that deal, we should have never, ever even started until they give our prisoners back. You know that. We should have had them back years ago. And once they got back, we should have gone in and told them, oh, by the way, the $150 billion, sorry, folks. We're a debtor nation, folks. We owe $19 trillion. We don't have it. Sorry, you're not getting the money. And you know what? After about 2 days of turmoil, we would have saved, believe me, $150 billion, okay? That deal is such an embarrassment. Well, our trade deals are just like that. Our trade deals, Sergeant Bergdahl, 5 for 1, right? We get Bergdahl. They get 5, who's a traitor. We get Bergdahl. They get 5 of the great killers that they've coveted for a period of 9 years, and they got them. And those guys are now back on the battlefield trying to kill us all, and we got a traitor. Big deal. But that's the way. And by the way, a traitor that supposedly 5 or 6 young, beautiful soldiers were killed trying to find them and get them back, okay? That's our deals. That's the way we negotiate. Not going to happen anymore, okay? Not going to happen anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell our wonderful businesses that deserted us, they left us, and I'm not even blaming them. They had no reason not to, because nobody talks to them. Do you think anybody went to Carrier and said, listen, you're letting all of these people go. You're moving to Mexico. Please don't do it. Ba, ba, ba. Here's the deal. They don't do that. So they move into Mexico. And I would say, whether it's me, I want to do it myself. I know it's not presidential. It's not presidential. It's not presidential for the President of the United States to call up the head of carrier. Hello, this is the president. But I don't care. It's so much fun for me. I love doing it. Please don't take that away. Please don't take that away from me. I love deals. So whether it's me or one of my killers, because oh, do I know them? I know the great ones. I know the bad ones. I know the overrated ones. I know the ones you've never heard of that are better than all of them. But whether it's one of these killers or whether it's me, but let me do it, okay? At least with carrier, please. So I call up. They say the President of the United States calling for the head of carrier. Get him on the phone. I say, listen, here's the story. Good luck in Mexico. Enjoy your stay. But here's the story. You let go of 1,400 great people that helped build your company. And I really love, by the way, I love the pictures of your new facility. Here's the story. Every single air conditioning unit that you make, every single one, as it crosses the border, and we're going to have a real border because we're going to have a wall. We're going to have a real border, okay? We're going to have a big, beautiful wall that nobody's crossing. And nobody's going underneath either, by the way, just in case you had any questions. Don't worry about the tunnel stuff. Nobody's going over it or under it. And we're going to have, by the way, a big, beautiful door. And people are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. 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 So I tell the head of carrier, every single unit that you make in Mexico and you sell in the United States, we're going to put a 35% tax on that unit, and I hope it works out well for you folks. And here's what's going to happen. They're going to have lobbyists call me, but I didn't take any of their money. They're going to have special interests call me, but I didn't take any of their money. They're going to have donors, but I didn't take any of their money. I don't give a damn for them, folks. I care for you. And here's what's going to happen. Within 24 hours of that phone call, the head of Carrier and Ford and so many other companies, I mean, you just take a look. I could give you a list. I could read them out all day. The head of Nabisco, leaving Chicago with their big plant, moving to Mexico. No more Oreos for us. I'm not eating Oreos anymore, I guarantee you. So here's what's going to happen, folks. I will get a call within 24 hours, and he will say to me, head of Carrier, Mr. President, we've decided to stay in the United States. I said, thank you very much. Build your plant anywhere. I don't even care if you don't build it in Phoenix or in Arizona. I want it in the United States, right? Right? We want it in the United States. And it's going to happen a lot. And here's the story. We are going to start winning again. We're not winning anymore. We don't win at anything. We don't win at anything. We don't win with our military. We can't beat ISIS. How about our great general, George Patton? I love George Patton. He's too tough. He could never be a general now. He's too tough. He's not politically correct. We got to stop with this political correct. And by the way, chipping away, just like I said, they're chipping away at the Second Amendment. They're chipping away at Christianity. They're chipping away at our religions. We're not going to have it anymore. It comes Christmas time. We're going to see signs up that say, Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. Okay, remember it. Remember it. So, we have become so politically correct that we're totally impotent as a country. It's not happening anymore. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to rebuild so politically correct that we're totally impotent as a country. It's not happening anymore. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to rebuild our military. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS, and we're going to come back and rebuild our country. We're going to rebuild our country. Our military is going to be so strong and so respected, and we're going to buy the right equipment. We're not going to buy equipment that was gotten because somebody at that company that sold the equipment had political connections to these characters that I run against. We are going to have a great military, and we are going to finally take care of our great veterans. We're going to take care of them. So we're going to win with the military. We're going to win with the Met. Well, thank you very much. Look at you. Thank you. USA is right. USA. USA. Thank you. So, folks, we're going to start winning again. We're going to win with our military. We're going to win for our vets, right? We're going to win for our vets, right? We're going to win for our vets. We're going to win with education. We're going to win by knocking the hell out of Obamacare, terminating it, coming up with something much less expensive, much better. We are going to win in every aspect of our lives. We're going to win so much. We're going to win with our Second Amendment. We're going to win big league with our Second Amendment. We are going to keep winning at every level. We're going to win so much that you're going to come and you're going to say, Mr. President, we're winning too much. I can't stand it anymore. And I'm going to say, I don't care. And you know what we're really going to wear? This is for the people of Phoenix, for the people of Arizona. We're really going to win at our border. We are going to win at our border. And we're going to build the wall. And ladies and gentlemen, I love you. You have to go out. You have to vote on Tuesday. You will never be disappointed with me. I'm not going to disappoint you. We are going to bring our country back. We are going to take our country back. We are going to have victories again. You are going to be so proud of your family, yourself, your president, and your country. We are going to win again all the time. Thank you very much. I love you. I love you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
There he said he believes he saw that at the rally earlier today as well. We're getting in lots of pictures from people at the rally. Hundreds of people simply stuck in traffic that the protesters tied up. They wanted nothing to do with any of this. This here as MCSO deputies